Hi, my name is Ben Ostrander and I'm the manager for Pulama Lanai's Culture and Historic Preservation Department. Welcome to Honuaola, caring for Lanai's biocultural landscape.
And I'm Shelly Preza. I work with Pulama Lanai, but I also manage programming at the Lanai Culture and Heritage Center, which is a community-based nonprofit.
In today's presentation, we will discuss cultural literacy initiatives on Lanai and their importance.
But before we can discuss our present programs, we need to take a step back and look at some of the key events in Lanai's history that affect our work today. In traditional times, our low estimate of Lanai's native population is 6,000. For scale, our current island population is around 3,000. Our native predecessors were able to sustain such a large population by properly managing their resources so that there would be abundance for future generations to come. On Lanai, it was this way for nearly 800 years. Then rapid change occurred. Western contact brought not just invasive plants and animals that would degrade our ecosystems, but also foreign disease that led to the drastic decline of 90% of Hawaiian people. The decline of native Hawaiians was aligned with the decline of our forest and watershed. In the 18 and 1900s, new industries dominated our landscape. Ranching and pineapple work further degraded land on Lanai. Today, tourism is the major industry here on island. However, we are at a unique point in our history where both community organizations and the landowner's management company can work together towards a better future for our island.
Since 2013, the Culture and Historic Preservation Department of Pulama Lanai has been working towards the mission to develop, advance, and nurture a sustainable future for Lanai and its people. We believe that by looking to the past, we can model many of our present programs and projects to reflect the mastery that kupuna possessed and their ability to live more harmoniously within the living environment. Although there are great challenges that we face today, we also have some unique advantages. Pulama Lanai manages the majority of the island, so many of the ancient concepts, such as the ahupua'a, can be utilized as a base to develop current projects without the restrictions that could be expected if you have several parcels of land with different title holders. This also makes the collaboration between different departments within Pulama Lanai, like the Natural Resource Department, who may have some of the same goals and visions, fairly seamless. Another advantage we enjoy is the lack of development on island. Much of the landscape remains open and free of urban sprawl and dense resort congestion that is common on the other islands. The Culture and Historic Preservation Department has three main functions: education of community and visitors, documentation of cultural and historic sites, and restoration or stabilization of these sites. Today, our documentation includes archaeological surveys and recordation of sites, archaeological monitoring during construction phases of development on island, and recording our progress during restabilization work with both data logs and photographs. In recent years, with the advancement of technologies in GIS and GPS, as well as unmanned drones, we're able to do this like never before. The restoration and stabilization component of our work is the foundation, we believe, in creating safe and responsible access to these places. When a place is upkept and shows obvious signs of active maintenance, there are fewer occurrences of inappropriate behaviors such as littering and vandalism. We view our work as integral to creating opportunities for students to visit and learn from these places. So these sites then become classrooms. These one-of-a-kind open-air classrooms give students a way to learn that are relevant and applicable to their immediate environment. So in these slides, you'll see a couple of these so-called classrooms, and you'll see the changes that have kind of occurred since doing a lot of the maintenance work to them. So this first one, Hi'i, this is an ancient agricultural complex, and this was first recorded by the Bishop Museum archaeologist Kenneth Emery in 1921, but it was actually remapped in 2016 by Lanai students that were enrolled in a summer program here, and Shelly will be talking about that soon. Another one of these classrooms is Wai'opai, and this is an ancient local or Hawaiian fish pond, and this was in disrepair and unfunctional. It's still not functional, but the restoration work began in 2015 to enclose and stand this wall that is over 2,000 feet long and encloses an area of 8 acres. So, you know, these spaces utilized as classrooms are really unique and being able to foster relationships. And you build those relationships by actually working on the land. And this bond grows, and it's forged like none that could be developed by just regular traditional classrooms and book lessons alone.
Mahalo. So before we get into some of the educational initiatives that we have here on Lanai, we just wanted to acknowledge that Hawaiian culture evolved in close partnership with its natural environment and does not have a clear dividing line of where culture ends and nature begins. The cultural landscape and traditions of Hawaiian people were intricately bound to the natural landscape of the Hawaiian Islands, and cultural attachment to place is one that takes generations to develop. As a means of growing and protecting these connections and values, the Lanai Culture and Heritage Center was formed by community members in 2007. Since then, the Lanai Culture and Heritage Center has endeavored to create programs that cultivate interest and knowledge in the culture, history, and customs of Lanai. We serve as a 501c3 nonprofit and operate as a small museum. In 2012, we launched Eikehoia Lanai, a place-based summer cultural literacy program aimed at blending a comprehensive education with active learning on our landscape. Eikeho centers around bringing students to wahipana, or storied places, to teach them about the environment and traditional stories as well. Stewardship there instills the sense of taking care of their home and hopefully fosters the connection between our youth and the aina, which is something that, like Ben said, cannot be taught within a traditional Western-style classroom. Now let's take a look at Waiaʻopai Fish Pond as an example. With place-based education, our students can learn science, math, engineering, history, and culture all at this one wahipana, which for years prior had lain in disrepair. We have engaged students of all ages here at Waiaʻopai, from toddlers to older adults. From sedimentation measuring to traditional dry stacking techniques, the possibilities are quite endless for aina-based education at this lokoi'a. And that is where the collaboration between the Lanai Culture and Heritage Center and Pulama Lanai has been so significant. With our public-private partnership, we have been able to offer more frequent opportunities for learning, not just in the summer, but throughout the school year. With a full-time cultural preservation crew, Pulama Lanai provides teaching staff for field outings, as well as 4x4 transportation to get to these sites. Through Lanai ECHC, we're able to share the years of research compiled by our executive director, Kipa Mali, and his wife, Onauna, and use that ike, or knowledge, to develop new ways of teaching our kids their history. Since 2012, we have engaged thousands of students in place-based learning and created opportunities for them to practice cultural preservation through critical thinking and problem-solving skills on their own island. In just the past 3 years, we've engaged nearly 750 students in aina-based education, and we are so fortunate because visiting significant sites and ecosystems on Lanai has never been more accessible thanks to the Culture and Historic Preservation crew. We are also adapting our with the changing times, and so Lanai ECHC just released our first ever virtual summer program, which is available on our website. And even though we are unable to physically take the kids to these different wahipana, we are still able to share the stories and issues that face these different places. So we were so pleased to find that actually our virtual program this year encouraged ohana to go and visit these places together and to learn alongside their children. We are so proud to be raising a generation of keiki who know traditional place names and can also recognize the scientific factors at play in their environment. We are raising kids who know the difference between native and invasive plants and also the difference between lanai and lanai. We are hopeful that our partnership will continue to cultivate lasting relationships between our youth and the Honuaola, the living landscape.
So how do we measure our successes? Well, this can be something a little bit challenging because a lot of these projects and things are not finished or completed in weeks or months, but more often years and decades. So some of the things that we do see and celebrate as successes are kind of what Shelly was talking about when we firsthand, hear youth talking with their peers and with their families about the things that they've learned, and using the traditional names of place, and really seeing those things that are soaking in and becoming the norm. So we see those as great successes. One example that we do have in this near term has been one of the past students who's been a participant in the Culture Center summer program. She is now a full-time employee with the Culture and Historic Preservation Department. So, that's really heartening to know that, there's people who are in this program that become adults and are still have that interest and plays a part in their lives, both professionally and personally. This person, she is also engaged in other leadership building programs for young adults, so her education hasn't stopped, as an adult as well.
But we also believe that our kids don't necessarily have to go into conservation or cultural preservation to understand or to practice aloha aina. We aren't just trying to raise good leaders or researchers, we are trying to raise good citizens, local residents who understand that their responsibility to our environment is not just natural, but inherently cultural preservation. We want leaders who practice aloha aina not just in their work, but in their everyday lives, who understand that it's more than just a phrase. Aloha aina is not just to love land, but to have a deep personal connection to it that often takes years to cultivate. Aloha aina is a way of life. And so we want to, in closing, encourage you to understand that our study of lands on which we work, on which we all work, should go beyond just research, data collection, or even understanding of cultural practice. We need to think about our role in the biocultural landscape and if there's more than just science that we can conduct. Our aina is so much more than that. It is our provider, our kumu, and our ohana. We would like to leave you all with this question. What can we do in our capacity as researchers and conservation professionals to uplift youth in the communities in which we work so that they can cultivate relationships to the Honuaola and eventually do our jobs better than we could ever hope to? Mahalo nui for your time. We hope you enjoyed our presentation, and now we're available to answer questions. And also, here is our contact information if you would like to continue talking story with us afterwards. Mahalo.
Mahalo.